With me now is royal expert Katie Nicholl. Katie, can you describe how unprecedented this is? And is this the first time that a senior member of the royal family has been arrested?
Yes, this is the first time a senior member of the royal family has been arrested. It is absolutely unprecedented. We have not seen anything like this in modern royal history, and I can tell you that it has sent shockwaves through the palace.
We were told that the royals were blindsided by this. We did subsequently see King Charles release a statement today saying that the law must take its course. And then we also saw him front row at London Fashion Week. We also saw the Queen with Anna Wintour today. Is this the keep calm and carry on situation that we often see, or has the royal family secretly been thrust into full crisis mode here?
Well, to be honest, I think both. I think this is absolutely the royal family sending a message out, keep calm and carry on. I was speaking to senior sources today who said quite simply, the show must go on. And I think you see this with the royals in times of crisis, and that is what we're talking about here. I've been speaking to constitutional experts who have told me this is akin to the abdication crisis. This is no small thing that the royal family are at the center of right now. So what do? They go into damage limitation mode, and they put the focus on duty. That is why we saw the Queen out, the King out, Princess Anne out. They know that they're very likely to get heckled. They're going to be questioned about this. But what they're not going to do is hide away in their ivory tower. You'll remember the late Queen's policy was, let's compartmentalize. We'll put this in a drawer. We'll close the drawer. We won't complain. We won't explain. Never complain, never explain was very much the late Queen's mantra. That will not wash in this situation. There is too much pressure on the royal family. There are too many people who want answers to these questions that so far Andrew has been reluctant to answer, and which, let's not forget, he is only answering because he was detained, he is under police caution, and he is being forced to answer those questions.
Yeah, we saw Queen Camilla being questioned today. We saw some paparazzi, some reporters that were yelling out questions at her. She did not say anything. She just kept going on, but we have seen that already. One of the things I did want to ask about, it does seem like the royal family is in damage control crisis mode right now, but I was struck a little bit by the King's statement today because it was, I believe, more forceful than I thought it would be. There have been questions about have people been protecting Andrew and what is the state of his situation right now, but you know, we heard the King say today, basically like, I'm not stepping in here. I'm just letting the police handle this. And this is troubling and this is concerning. And it was almost like, I can't do this anymore with my brother. I don't know if you read into it that way as well.
I did very much. And I think there were a couple of interesting things about that statement. One was the fact that we got a statement as soon as we did. I think, you know, a lot of people were expecting that we might not hear from the palace. At the end of the day, this is now a police investigation. So the King and every member of the royal family is now not in a position to speak about Andrew while he is being investigated by the police. The King started that statement with a simple word, and it was I. And it was the first time that he had personally spoken about Andrew. He didn't talk about his brother. He spoke about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. So we're seeing that real distance between the King and his brother. Everything he's done in recent months, and some might argue it's taken him too long to do it, but essentially what he has done is put distance between Andrew and the royal family, whether that's putting him into a royal Siberia by hiding him away at Norfolk, stripping him of his titles, making sure there is as much distance as possible between Andrew and what they call the Andrew problem at the palace and the royal family. But it's just impossible to separate them. And as you say, everywhere the royals go, those awkward questions follow. Now, the Queen chose not to answer today. The King chose not to answer today. William, Saudi Arabia, when he was asked about the royal family and whether they'd acted soon enough, chose not to answer. But I think that statement was lengthier than I expected. And I think it showed clearly that their position is they will continue to carry on with their duty. And most importantly, they will wholeheartedly support and cooperate with this police investigation.
Yeah, because these charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison. So what do you think is the likelihood of a sentence and what will happen with Andrew here?
I suspect it's going to very much depend on what Andrew says to the police, what they find in perhaps computers, notebooks, phones. And of course, there are other allegations hanging over Andrew as well. And these are the sexual allegations. Let's not forget that he's been arrested today on suspicion of misconduct in public office, essentially handing over sensitive details while he was trade envoy. But what about those sexual allegations? This may not be the only police investigation that Andrew faces.
There was a clergyman on site today. What does that tell you?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it was Andrew's 66th birthday. No family, no Sarah Ferguson, none of his daughters, but a clergyman. I think we have to assume, just as the royal family, the King, the Queen, the Prince and Princess of Wales were blindsided by this morning's arrest, I think we have to assume that Andrew didn't see it coming either. He certainly didn't expect to be spending his birthday being interviewed by police and possibly in a prison cell.
Yeah.
The fact that there was a clergyman, one wonders if that's the only company that Andrew's keeping at the moment.
You mentioned Sarah Ferguson. I'm glad you did. Let's talk about her for a second, because she just shut down her own charity and her personal emails to Jeffrey Epstein were released. But we have not seen her in public since last September was the last time we saw her. What do you know about how her and how the girls are dealing with all of this?
Let's just put the allegations aside, if we can, and sort of consider the impact that this must have had on them as a family, and sort of take away that public scrutiny. And it's been incredibly difficult. You're right. We haven't seen Sarah Ferguson. She's basically, well, she's in the United Arab Emirates at the moment, essentially trying to find people that will befriend her, trying to find a way to make money. And she doesn't have a form of income at the moment. And she's been seen with Eugenie, but Beatrice and Eugenie have been very, very careful about affiliating too closely with their parents, because of course they're very aware of the damage just by proxy that being seen with their parents might cause. They are an incredibly close family. They always have been. And yet Beatrice and Eugenie have really distanced themselves from Andrew. I understand there is still a close relationship with their mother, but let's not forget Princess Eugenie is a co-chair of an anti-slavery charity. And with all of the allegations against Andrew and to Sarah as well, this is not a good look. So I think you can expect low profiles, very much a conscientious effort on the part of Sarah Ferguson to be keeping a low profile. But inevitably, she's going to have to think about what her life looks like now. She's always had a great relationship with Andrew. That is no longer the case. She needs a home, she needs an income, and I suspect on a personal level, she probably needs the love and support of her daughters.
I was going to say, could Sarah be ensnared in this? Because you said the homes are still being searched. They're still looking for anything. Could she get tangled up in this as well?
Well, certainly not in the same way that Andrew has been, because of course she never held a position in public office. She wasn't in a position to hand over confidential documents. But we know that she took the girls over to Epstein Island. We know that she continued contact with Epstein long after his convictions. We know she accepted huge sums of money for him. So I think, yes, that tarnishes her reputation. It doesn't cause her the same level of damage as Andrew, because if he is found guilty of misconduct in public office, well, we know that there's a prison sentence, possibly a life sentence involved with that. I think that's very unlikely. I don't think we're going to see that happen, but it is a very serious offence.
You mentioned William. When he was questioned in Saudi Arabia, he chose not to say anything. But do you think that we will hear from him now that King Charles has released a statement? He's the future king. Do you think he'll say anything?
Well, I think there's going to be growing pressure on the royal family to speak further. I think while the King's statement today sort of filled a hole and a level of expectation, there is going to be the need to hear more. I think it was interesting to hear from the spokesperson for Prince William and Catherine, just saying that they were very much aligned with what the King had said, but we haven't as yet had a separate statement for them. But we had William out the other day talking about mental health awareness. It's only a matter of time before we see them out on engagements. And I suspect that those questions will be asked. I think it's worth pointing out that we are in a different moment with the monarchy. That idea of them being in their ivory tower, not addressing allegations and keeping a silence will damage them. And I think William and Catherine, very much leading this sort of future of the monarchy, this young image of the monarchy, are aware of that. Now, whether they choose to make a statement on their social channels or address something, I think they will find a way to do that. But I think that might take some time. Right now, Michelle, they are just reeling from this.